The Glow with Keila Yvette, my channel where I'll be following my weight loss and fitness journey after having weight loss surgery and my journey to entrepreneurship. If you all have watched my last video, thank you so much for coming back. But if you're new to my channel, consider watching my last video where I give you 5 tips if you are considering weight loss surgery. So I just wanted to give you all a little background about my weight history and what made me get weight loss surgery back in 2015 and then a revision in 2019. So I was not always a big child, but around 3rd grade, that's when I started gaining weight and becoming very heavy. I can remember seeing a nutritionist when I was in the 3rd grade and I was 115 pounds. And if you know the normal size of a child in the 3rd grade, it's nowhere near 115 pounds, so I was very heavy. I can remember squatting one time, like sitting in the squat position, and my friend was staring at my thighs. She probably didn't realize that I noticed her staring, but of course, it wasn't normal to have thighs as big as mine back then. Coincidence, thick thighs, thin patience, but no. Yeah, it was very embarrassing, and you know, I continued having weight issues throughout my entire life, even till today, of course. Even though I've had weight loss surgery and I've lost a considerable amount of weight, I've been heavy my entire life, so it's just something I'm kind of used to at this point. But I didn't consider getting weight loss surgery until 2013 after having tried everything. I've done weight loss programs, like supervised weight loss programs in hospitals, Weight Watchers, quick weight loss. I've considered the HCG diet, I've done keto, a bunch of different things, and while they work, they weren't long-term fixes. So back in 2013, I started looking into weight loss surgery and mentioned it to one of my friends, and she immediately shot it down. She told me that a friend of hers had gotten the lap band surgery, and while she still had the lap band inserted into her stomach, she almost gained all the weight that she had lost back. And that kind of discouraged me, of course, because I didn't want to spend the time and money on getting the surgery and going right back to where I was. So I kind of put the thought out of my mind at that point. I had even signed up for a seminar and just didn't go. And now that it's 2019, of course, I wish I had known what I know now, and I would have definitely gone back and gone to the seminar and considered all the other options. But again, with the discouragement, I kind of just let it go. So fast forward to 2015. By that point, I was about 328 pounds at my highest reported weight. I was living on my own and I was eating everything you could think of. And my favorite was Domino's. After they recreated all their pizzas and had that amazing pan pizza, I was eating a pizza almost every day. I was going to the gas station and getting hot fries and a bottle of wine and eating those between 1 and 2 days. So I was just getting heavy and I was depressed and unhappy because my whole life I was known as the heavy girl and it just wasn't getting better. I've never really wanted to be skinny. I just want to be healthy and at a weight that I'm comfortable with. And at that point, I was just truly unhappy. So in early 2015, I moved in with a roommate, and that kind of made things better. Seeing her, she wasn't necessarily skinny, but she weighed a lot less than me, and that kind of gave me the encouragement to look into it because it was embarrassing going out and being the fat friend or the friend that nobody really wanted to talk to. There would be a group of 3 guys and be a group of us 3 girls, and they would talk to my friends, but one would just stand off in the corner not wanting to talk to me. And it's not like I'm ugly, so it was always embarrassing because I knew it had to do with my weight. And nowadays, of course, big girls are in because we've always been beautiful, but back in like 2013 and 2012 when I was in college, I didn't feel that way. So in 2015, enough was enough, and I started looking into the surgery again. I was 23 at that point and I was still on my mom's insurance. So I called the insurance company to see if it was something that they would offer and pay for. So at that point I started researching different hospitals here in Atlanta, seeing where would be the best to go. And Emory Healthcare is a very popular hospital system here in Atlanta and they're very reputable. So I was like, okay, let me look into that. So I scheduled to attend one of their seminars where they just went over the different types of surgeries and you got to meet 1 or 2 of the surgeons. And while I was there, I learned about all the different types of surgeries. Granted, I already knew a little bit about them, such as the vertical sleeve gastrectomy and the lap band. And I knew about gastric bypass because I had a cousin that had the gastric bypass years ago, and he looked amazing, but he was also well over 500 pounds. And I was in the mindset that I wasn't that big and I didn't need something that extreme. And there was a well-known YouTuber named Crystal Chanel that I had been following, and I noticed that she had lost a lot of weight, and she finally came out and said that she got weight loss surgery and started talking about her journey and said that she had had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy. So I was like, okay, that's perfect. I don't need to look into anything else. Like, all I want them to do is remove a portion of my stomach. I don't need them rerouting intestines or putting anything foreign into my body, because I know that my body can be very sensitive to different things. I scar very easily. If something's stitched up, it's going to be something wrong with it. I'm just a very sensitive person, so I didn't want to do anything that seemed extra. So even when I went to the seminar, I was listening, but I wasn't really listening, because at that point I knew what I wanted. So I set an appointment with one of the surgeons at Emory-Johns Creek, which is Dr. William Johnson. He's still here. Their website is atlantabariatrics.com if you're interested in learning more, and I would definitely recommend him to anyone. But I told him that I was interested in the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and because of my age and weight, he said that it would be a good option. And of course, if I had told him I was interested in the gastric bypass, I'm sure he would have given me my options. We may still have gone with the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, but I at least would have learned more about it. And honestly, because I didn't want to learn more about it, I didn't even ask. So my insurance at the time was United Healthcare, and as I mentioned, I was under my mom's insurance, and all that we were required to do was meet my deductible, which was, I believe, about $3,000. And we had already used a lot of that because we'd been making doctor's visits and things of that nature. And of course, once they told me the blood work that I had to get done, those visits also counted towards our deductible. So by the time I had the surgery, I think we may have had to have paid like $2,000 out of pocket, maybe $1,500, somewhere around that range. And once I had finished all the testing, we finally submitted everything to the insurance company. And at that point, it had taken about like a month and a half for them to even give us an approval. So by the time I got my approval, it was well into June, and my surgery was set for June 29th, which was like 2 weeks after we got the approval. So at that point, it was very real for me. So because of my BMI at the time, which was very high, I think it was over 50, my surgeon put me on a liquid diet, but I was really struggling with the liquid diet. As I mentioned, I was 328, and I'd been eating any and everything that I could think of by that point. So me being on a liquid diet was so restrictive, I called and asked if there was something I could do. So they did modify a little bit. They let me eat like open face sandwiches, just very healthy things, but I couldn't eat what I wanted. But literally like 2 nights before the surgery, I still had a food funeral, as I mentioned in my last video, and I ate like a steak dinner because I'm like, oh my God, I won't be able to eat this and blah, blah, blah. And of course that absolutely wasn't true, but I wasn't in the mindset that, I really had to make a lifestyle change. Like, that steak will be there eventually. But I still got my surgery on June 29th. I was 318 pounds, so I'd only lost 10 pounds from my highest weight. And of course I know it's because of my food funeral and eating whatever I wanted and sneaking little things here and there during my liquid diet. So I was still in that self-sabotage mindset. But after I got the surgery, it's like something clicked and I was on it. I was taking my vitamins regularly. Something that you may not know if you haven't looked into getting surgery is that once you have one of these weight loss surgeries, you will have to take vitamins almost for the rest of your life, just because your body doesn't absorb the nutrients like it used to, because of course your stomach is so small, or if you've had the gastric bypass, it's malabsorptive, and I don't know if I said that right. I'll put it right here. But your body still needs to get those nutrients so that you don't have any deficiencies. So I was on top of my vitamins. I was working out with my roommate, and I felt a lot more confident. So eventually I got to 244 pounds, which was in about February of 2016. So that was my lowest weight that I can remember, that I know of at least. And when I tell you my confidence was through the roof, because of course here I was at 328 pounds less than a year before. And by this point, I was the smallest I could remember in my adult years. So at that point, we started having fun. We started going bowling every Wednesday, eating wings, drinking beer, drinking drinks, and I was just not doing what I was doing to be successful up until that point. And I kind of fell into the habit of eating the things that I used to love to eat, and eating right every now and then, and getting tired of it, getting bored, having hunger pains because my body was craving the things that I used to eat. So I eventually started gaining a little bit more weight. So I'd gotten back up to like 250s, but I was still comfortable with myself. Then I slowly started creeping up to the 260s, and at that point it was like late 2016, and I was like, okay, something's gotta give. And I was blaming everything and everyone but myself. I wasn't blaming it on the habits that I had fallen back into. I was like, no, my tool isn't working, I'm gonna look into getting a revision. But my mom's employer's insurance unfortunately did not cover a revision, and plus I was almost at the point where I was not of age to be under her insurance, so I was going to have to look into doing it on my insurance at my job. Unfortunately, my job's insurance did not cover weight loss surgery of any kind, so it definitely didn't cover a revision. So from that point on, I was still following those old habits, eating what I wanted, working out here and there, losing a few pounds, but then falling back into old habits and gaining even more weight. And I, at my highest weight, had gotten back up to 308 pounds. In June of 2018, I started working for another company, and I did my research and found out that they would cover my revision surgery. So at that point, I was like, okay, game on, Keela. You know what you gotta do. You gotta get back into those old habits, lose some weight, find out what you have to do to get a revision, and get this to work. So at the time, I was living near Piedmont Hospital here in Atlanta, and I went to see a surgeon there to see what it would take to get a revision. He asked me a few questions about my history after my surgery, and I gave him the information, and he asked if I had had any acid reflux. Up until that point, I didn't think I had had consistent acid reflux. I told him every now and then I would have heartburn, but it wouldn't last very long, and I wouldn't really take anything, especially not regularly, because I didn't think I needed it. And at that point, he told me that most people that have revision surgeries do so because they have acid reflux that could later cause additional issues. At that point, again, I mentioned I didn't know if I had acid reflux because I'd only had heartburn a few times. So he suggested that I visit their nutritionist and do like 6 months of weight loss visits and see if at that point I didn't lose any weight, and then we can consider a revision. But in my head, I'm like, another 6 months of living the way I'm living, that can't happen, like I'm not happy. So I went back to my original surgeon, and the only reason I didn't go back to him in the first place was because I was living so close to that hospital. So I went back to my original surgeon, and he had me go and take some tests, like an upper GI test, which is where they make you drink something called barium. They then put you on a table, flip the table, and see if it comes up. And immediately they were like, you have acid reflux. It's coming right back up. And they told me that a lot of people don't realize that acid reflux does not only come in the form of heartburn, but it can be coughing after eating. It can also come in the form of nausea or vomiting, which I frequently experience, but I just chalked it up to either me eating too fast or it just not going down well. So at that point, he told me that I was a great candidate to get a revision, and that's when we discussed me getting the gastric bypass. By this point, I was like, I knew I probably should have gotten gastric bypass in the beginning, but again, me being scared and not wanting to go to extreme. But at this point, I was ready. I knew what I had to do, and I knew where my failures were, so I was ready to look into getting something different. So when the surgeon's office initially contacted my insurance company to see what the requirements were, they told me that I still had to do another psychiatric evaluation, even though I had done one a few years before. I also had to get those same tests done, like the blood work and EKG, to see if my heart was strong enough to go through another surgery. And then I also had to do 3 months of supervised weight loss visits, which required me to be on a weight loss plan and visit my doctor 3 times a month. So my primary care physician at that time was Dr. Kristen Marie Coleman. Shout out to her. She's an absolutely amazing doctor. And she knew the struggles I was going through with my weight and was definitely an advocate for me getting the revision surgery. But unfortunately, she was moving at the time. So I only got to do my first weight loss visit with her. She had typed up everything, recorded everything the way she was supposed to. But unfortunately, when they left, they don't know what happened to the letter. But before she left, she referred me to another doctor here in Atlanta. But when it was time for me to do my third weight loss visit, she unfortunately had a death in the family, and I had to go back to the doctor that replaced Dr. Kristen Marie Coleman. So that is my new primary care physician, Dr. Shannon Ashley, and she's amazing as well. Like, 2 doctors I would definitely suggest if they're in your area. Dr. Kristen Marie Coleman, who is in Virginia, I'm not sure exactly where, but Dr. Shannon Ashley is here in the Inman Park area at Piedmont, and she is absolutely amazing. But she, at that point, recorded everything that we needed, but we still didn't have the other 2 months, so we couldn't move forward. So at that point, I just figured it would be easier to go to the surgeons. And I already knew Tracy was great. I just didn't go because I had to pay $50 out of pocket because it was considered a specialist visit, and that was the only reason I didn't go to them initially. So we did my 3 months visits, and at that point, it was, I think, April or early May. So once they submitted everything, we actually got the approval very quickly. I didn't realize they had submitted everything, and they called me to tell me I was approved, and I was amazed because the first time it had taken a month and a half to get an approval, even though I'd gotten all my visits done within a week and a half. And at this point, it had taken 6 months, but once they submitted everything, it was down like that. So at that point, we scheduled my surgery for May 6th, and I was so ready to record my weight loss journey from the time I was in the hospital to getting out of the hospital and things of that nature. But my father was sick, and even though he was sick and in the hospital, every day I talked to him, he's like, did you have your surgery yet? Did you have your surgery yet? Because he wasn't in the right mind. We later found out that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, which was metastatic and it spread to his bones. So he passed away less than a month after I had my initial surgery. So of course, I was so happy that I had my surgery, but I was going through such an emotional time that I was very depressed, and I was barely eating because I couldn't eat. I was just sick to my stomach, but I knew that I still had to get my protein in. So I was doing what I had to do, but I wasn't following the steps like I should have. But the weight was still coming off, so that was a plus. This time I refused to let myself fall back into bad habits because I knew that my father wouldn't want me to do that. He was so ready and excited for me to get this surgery because he knew what it meant to me, that even when he was in the hospital dealing with his own illness and issues, he was still making sure that I was doing what I needed to do to be happy. So fast forward to today, January 1st of 2020, shout out to the new year. We needed a better year than last year because it was trash. But I am now 235 pounds, and I know I would have been a lot lower than I am now, but I tried to be pescatarian from July till December, and it just didn't work out for me. My body didn't really agree with it, and I think it's because of my lack of options with protein. I was eating a lot more carbs, and carbs just don't do well with me. I've never done well when I eat a lot of carbs. So I was losing weight, but it was very slow, and as soon as I ate chicken and turkey, I think I lost like 9 pounds in the first week. So I still don't eat pork, and I still don't eat red meat, even though I do miss steak and I do miss bacon, but I'm doing very well. My mindset is way better than it was the first time I had surgery, and even if I do have fun, I fall right back into those good habits really quickly. And as I mentioned in my first video, if you haven't watched it, weight loss surgery does not change your mindset. If you have a food addiction and you love food like me, I know I have a food addiction to this day, weight loss surgery is not going to change that. You have to be ready. You absolutely have to be ready to not fall into those habits where you're like, oh, this won't hurt, and then next thing you know it, you're doing all the old things that you were doing before. So definitely take that into consideration if it's something that you're looking into doing. I just wanted to give you all a quick rundown of my weight loss history because a lot of people equate weight loss surgery to being something quick and drastic, and they believe it's the easy way out. And I'm telling you right now, clearly it's not the easy way out because I had the surgery, lost almost 90 pounds, and still gained about 70 pounds of it back. So it's not the easy way out. You still have to work hard. You have to work out. You have to eat right. You have to change your mindset, which we all know is not easy. So I want anybody that has a negative connotation associated with weight loss surgery to get that out of their mind. Like, it's not something that's easy. I still struggle every day. It's not fun to go out to eat with your friends and they're looking at your plate like, why aren't you eating that much? And you haven't told them that you had the surgery and you don't want to explain in front of everybody. So you're like, oh, I'm just not that hungry, or you find some type of excuse. And that's another point. I haven't told everybody that I've had weight loss surgery, even the initial one, and especially with my revision, just because I knew I had failed the first time. And I didn't want people to think like, oh, there she goes again. Even one of my best friends, I didn't tell him, because when I told him about me possibly getting revision surgery, he wasn't really for it, and he might see this now. So yes, I did have the revision surgery, but I just didn't want anybody that wasn't 100% supportive to kind of bring me down or to put me in a negative mindset. And it's so funny because now he'll be like, oh, look at you doing it without the surgery. And I'm like, yeah, you think. But that's just to say that it's a tool. It's a very helpful tool. And I don't know if I could have lost weight without it, because as I mentioned, I've tried everything in the past and I just couldn't lose more than a few pounds. I was losing maybe 10 pounds in a few months as opposed to 10 pounds a month like I have with my surgery. So it's always something that I suggest that you look into. Do your research. If you're interested in it, it's amazing, but make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Even with this new year starting, I'm still working on my mindset because I still have daily struggles and I don't really care for working out. I'm great with meal prepping when I do have the time and money to do so, and I can eat right once I meal prep. I just have to change it up a little bit so I don't get tired of it, but I'm good with that. But working out is not my thing. So this evening I'll actually be starting the Crush 60 workout program, which is a gym workout program. They also have an at-home workout program as well as the Booty Boot Camp. Sorry, my recording stopped, so I don't know if this is gonna look a little funny. But I think I was saying I'm gonna start the booty boot camp after I do the Crush 60 program. And I'm starting that today, and my goal for January and February is to get at least 10,000 steps a day. So in the mornings, I'll be doing about 30 minutes of walking on the treadmill, and then in the evenings, I'll be doing the Crush 60 program. So I'm trying to do 2 a days. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm very motivated at this point. My sister is here for a few days, so we're going to be starting it off together, and then we'll be continuing to keep up with each other when she goes back to Kansas City to go back to work. I'll be vlogging while I do these workouts, and I'll be posting them every week, so I won't post every day about it. Of course, it's a lot of editing, if y'all know. But I'll be posting about my workouts and my eating throughout the week. And the plan is to post a video every Wednesday about my vlogs. Considering liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell for notifications for when I post. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, tips, or anything, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next video.